Heard Tony say, forgiveness is a feeling of letting go, of releasing yourself of all the expectations of how people should be, of how you should be. Listen as Sarah Foley, whom you heard in the beginning of this episode, describes this feeling that she had at her first Tony Robbins event.
I made a commitment to myself that I would just not hold back, that I would play completely full out from my heart. And I felt like it was 37 years of pressure being released, of trying to keep other people happy and do the right thing and be perfect at all times. And I was able to let that go. I completely lost my mind. I absolutely lost myself. I played so full out. I was bawling at every minute, happy, sad, every kind of tears. And I felt this absolute relief. I went to the event with a lump in my throat, a physical lump in my throat, and I left feeling 1,000,000 pounds lighter. And I was able to really look back on the things that gave me the biggest struggles, such as my accident 7 years ago and my parents' divorce, my dad leaving the picture. And I was able to use those as two very big and emotional things that I envisioned putting me on the stage. They put me where I am today.
Let's go back 7 years to September 22nd, 2012, the day of Sarah's accident.
I had been newly dating this man, Sean, and we'd been dating for about 6 months and just on cloud nine. We went for a weekend getaway in southern Utah. That morning, we went for a hike. We took all 4 of our dogs between the both of us, and it was like we were on top of the world. It was these beautiful, big red rock formations as far as the eye could see. And I looked to him and I just said, my life is absolutely perfect. There's nothing about it I would change. I'm super in love. I've got my dream job, made great money and beautiful family and friends. And there's just nothing about it I would change. 4 hours later, we took some four-wheelers out for a ride. It was us and another couple. Super easy ride. We had a picnic planned and it was just easy. And we were on like the kind of this fire access road. There's one point where it kind of went up and around the bend and we couldn't quite tell if it was going to be safe on the other side. So the guys went on up ahead and me and the other girl stayed back. And at one point we see the other guy, Jim, up on top of the hill and he's waving to us. He says, come on up, it's safe, you're good to go. And what we didn't realize was that Sean, my boyfriend, was coming down the bend. So I went on up first, and as we came around, I saw him and I absolutely froze. I didn't know what to do. I'd been very ill-experienced on a four-wheeler, and I turned to get out of the way. He completely threw himself to the side, and had I just been going straight, I would have completely avoided him and carried on like no other day. But I jerked the handlebars to the side and hit a ditch, and my front wheels caught it, and I went flipping through the air. It's amazing the things that go through your head when you're hit with an accident like that. All I could think about was my second grade teacher. She's telling us this accident story of a man on a motorcycle. And she said if they just hadn't moved him after the accident, he would have been fine. And so in my mind, I thought, okay, if I just stay still, by the time, I get help here, then I'll be okay. And so I said, don't move me, call Lifeline. And then I said, how's my face? He still laughs at me to this day that was like my next worry. And he gets up to me and says, babe, your face is beautiful, but I don't know about the rest of your body. I didn't have a single scratch of blood, not even like a carpet burn, but I couldn't feel anything from the waist down. I was in a lot of pain, a lot of agony. My clavicle had broken and I had kind of landed on my one side, on the left side. So I was holding myself steady because the crunching and splitting of my clavicle was just excruciating. And it took about an hour and a half for Lifeline to arrive. And during this time, I'm keeping Sean calm. He's just beside himself. The terror, the worry, the guilt, everything just consuming him. And I made a few phone calls. I called my mother and, she still talks about that phone call of, I just said, Mom, I can't feel my legs. Lifeline finally arrived an hour and a half later. And they said, okay, we got to get you on this board so we can get you onto Lifeline. And they said, this is going to hurt. And they just said 3, 2, 1. And it was just the most excruciating pain all over again. They got me up in the helicopter and just started pumping me full of pain medicine. And I woke up 10 hours later. And I woke up in the hospital and no one was in the room when I woke up, and I was intubated. And I remember not being able to breathe, and I just started thrashing all over the hospital bed. And finally a nurse comes in and she just says, just breathe, just breathe. I never heard the words from the doctors, you'll never walk again, but no one really knew what to think. My aunt at one point comes in and she leans down to give me a hug, and I just said, why? And she just pulls away and she looks me in the eye and says, don't you ever, ever ask why. That question's going to eat you alive, and that answer will only come when it's supposed to.
Sarah went through so many stages, from denial, where she was convinced that she would walk out of the hospital, to distraction, as she was surrounded by friends and family, to starting over, learning how to do everything all over again, like showering and going to the bathroom. Then the boredom rolled in, and she remembers the days when the only thing she looked forward to was watching The Price is Right at 11 a.m. every day. Finally, it was the stage of getting back to normal and pretending it never happened. Within 6 months, she was back to work. She and Sean even got married on the anniversary date of the accident because they wanted to make it a good day instead of a bad day. But no amount of normalcy or positive thinking could cover up the uneasy feeling that Sarah had around being disabled. She was uncomfortable with this new identity that had been thrust upon her.
So when I became injured and had to then be in a wheelchair, and had a disability, the only disability I had encountered were elderly people. They were frail, they were weak, they were unemployed, or on the flip side, maybe they were a little bit younger, but they were never healthy, a lot of overweight. That's all I'd seen. I'd never seen anyone like me. I'd never seen anyone still really being successful or being attractive. So these stereotypes exist. And I think when we think of disability, we think of those norms, unfortunately. And little by little, you think that that's what you're supposed to be. A few months ago, I saw a quote that said, people cannot be what they haven't seen. And I think that if all I'd seen were these ugly stereotypes, I kind of subconsciously became that. I felt really awkward if I got dressed up in the morning, getting ready for work. It felt like I had to force it, like put on makeup, get ready, still be who you were